P3 is a third-in-a-row action camera launched by Chinese manufacturer called Dazzne. Their latest model, Dazzne P3, is an action camera with a 2-inch screen which can record video in 180p 60 frames per second and capture still images in true 16 megapixels with its Panasonic sensor. All of this sounds pretty good, but is it worth the $155 retail price, and what makes it different compared to other Chinese action cameras? Well, if you stay with me throughout this video, I'll be doing my best to help you find out whether or not this camera is good for you, and I'll be test of course its performance and overall features. So let's begin. Okay, let's start this video review by taking a closer look at actual technical specification of P3. As you can see here, it comes with Umbrella A7 chipset and Panasonic 16 megapixels image sensor. Also, its lens is 6 glass and the camera overall weight with the battery inside is around 94 grams. You can see its size on the screen, and what makes it a bit different from some of the cameras is also 2-inch LCD screen that camera has on its back. Camera is powered by a replaceable 1000 mAh Li-ion battery and its total external capacity is 64 GB. Of course, it supports MicroSD cards. Alright, enough with the specifications. If you would like to find out more about actual technical specs and every other feature of this camera, I wrote quite a detailed article. The link on it will be in the description of this video. Considering the product mid-range price, I really expected a bit better box and package quality, which in my opinion felt a bit cheap. Once I opened the box, I completely forgot how poorly the outside of the packaging was made due to the excellent way of organizing accessories inside. Unlike plenty other gear-rich cameras I had, where all accessories were stuffed in the box completely unorganized, this one has a plastic divider for each piece of gear. As you see, compared to some of its competitors, it comes with modest amount of accessories, but all of these are quite handy. For instance, they included 2 batteries and dual charger, and this is one of the best pieces of gear I ever saw in an action camera. One more piece that I like is a rotatable self-adhesive mounts, and there are 4 of them. They all can turn 360 degrees around their axis, which is quite neat. And also, to be honest, I never expected to be happy after seeing a HDMI cable inside the packaging. What this HDMI cable is used for previewing your footage directly from the camera onto your TV if you like showcasing your footage to your family or friends. And also we have here a manual which comes in 2 different languages, Chinese and English, and it consists out of 13 pages for each language. As far as other accessories are concerned, they are pretty standard, nothing special, and all of these mounts are GoPro compatible and can fit in SJ-Cam mounts as well. One little piece of gear that was not included in the package and made me scream is actual bracket or the holder that enables direct mounting of the camera onto a selfie stick on a tripod or anything else. Thanks to not having a holder, it is impossible to mount this camera onto anything without having to put it in waterproof case first. Very frustrating experience, to be honest, and I really did not like that they did not include this inside the package. So I went ahead and wanted to buy one. Well, guess what? There is not a holder for this camera. It is impossible to find one online. I tried really hard and I really did not see this anywhere. So if you saw this piece of gear somewhere, please let me know. But as far as I'm concerned, they did not manufacture this piece, which is a complete shame. I do not want to mount this camera onto a chest mount with a waterproof case on it. As far as I'm concerned, this is a big flaw not including a bracket. Since all action cameras lately tend to have a GoPro box design, I really wasn't hoping Dazzne to reinvent the wheel and change the shape of the camera. In terms of shape and size, camera is identical to its predecessor, which is Dazzne P2. And according to my measurements, it weighs around 95 grams with 100 mAh battery inside, and without battery it is around 70 grams. Compared to some of the action cameras I already reviewed, this is definitely one of the heaviest. And the reason for this might be the build quality of the camera. This rectangular shaped camera is made out of the non-skid plastic material, which should prevent it from slipping away while you hold it. I personally haven't noticed any difference between this and any other rubberized edge camera, but perhaps it makes some difference for some people, not for me. As far as appearance is concerned, the camera looks quite badass. It does not feel cheap at all when you hold it, and it is quite obvious that Dazzne did quite a lot of effort to make a well-crafted camera. which increased the total weight once again, but this reminds me of some of the cameras already reviewed, such as Get 1, which were well crafted and very tough cameras. The only thing that looked cheap on this camera is actual side cover made out of the thin plastic. This side cover should prevent dust from getting into MicroSD and HDMI slots, but sometimes it was very hard to open it, and because of the thin plastic it was made of, it ruined a bit overall tough impression of this camera for me. Having an LCD screen on an action camera is not something many people need, but I assure you that even the most profound and extreme users find navigation and overall experience much smoother when the camera has a screen. Screen size of a Dazzne P3 is 2 inches and it belongs to a group of cameras with slightly larger LCD screen display such as Hero 1 or SJCam X1000 and 5000X by SJCam. Screens of this size is not only perfect for improving composition of photo and video but also for overall navigation. On the other hand, having a screen always drains the battery a bit faster. Luckily, there is a screensaver option which will save your battery. I explained how that works in the article I wrote and the link to it is in the description of this video. Dazzne P3 has several operating modes and each of them does different things and has different options and abilities. It has video, photo, time-lapse, burst, playback and settings. In this video I'll test video, photo, burst and a little bit of settings, where all the other settings in detail are featured on my website, and I strongly recommend you to visit it if you're a bit more interested in finding out how Dazzne operates and all of its setup and best practices. When it comes to video, P3 can shoot footage in tons of different resolutions and frames per second, depending on whether you choose PAL or NTSC video format. On the screen now you can see all the resolutions in which camera can make video, and also it is worth mentioning that 720p 120 frames per second on the camera will automatically create a slow motion footage at 30 frames per second. This is quite similar to the super slow motion that Sony AS100V has. In my opinion, quality of the footage is good and I'm satisfied with it. I mostly shoot in 180p 30 and 60 frames per second and have no complaints about it. While I was recording, however, I noticed in some cases that the camera will struggle to get proper exposure, especially when facing a strong and bright backlight. Now I will let you watch a few video samples I took and play some music, and if you wish to download raw video footage and inspect them on your own PC, because as some of you know, YouTube always compresses video and they look quite bad on YouTube, just download video samples. I'll leave a link in the description of the video. Let's now play some videos so that you can enjoy, and later I will show you how the photography part of this camera works, which is one of my favorite parts of the Dazzne P3. As far as the audio quality is concerned, no matter what I tried, the output I had a terrible hiss. At first I thought it was the problem with interference or with Wi-Fi. I tried everything, recording outdoor, indoor, but the problem kept appearing. Each and every time there was a slight hiss in my audio, which really annoyed me, and I remember having this same issue with Git 1. Again, I'm not sure if this is the issue with just my particular unit, but after reading few other comments online and reviews, indeed people have the same problem, so the audio on this camera is pretty poor, and I really do not think that it can be fixed through the firmware updates. So luckily the camera has an external microphone support, so if the audio matters to you, you should probably get an external microphone and converter. Camera captures still images at various resolutions. Maximum res is 16 megapixels. Thanks to its Panasonic sensor, this is true megapixels resolution. In my opinion, photo quality is great, and for its price it just cannot be beaten. It's quite natural looking and both sharp when cropped at 100 and even 200%. Dazzne is one of those cameras that is quite feature-rich and allows you to take full control of your footage, video or anything else. There are a bunch of options you can tweak and set up, and I will just cover a few most interesting ones. If you would like the full overview of each and every setting inside this camera, please visit an article that I've written. I promise each and every option is featured and covered in detail there. One unusual mode which I found very interesting is called photo in video. By turning it on, your camera will capture a still image while you're recording and export it. Please note that the camera will not create actual 16 megapixels image. This will just be an exported frame of your video, which is around 2 megapixels. Changing the white balance will influence how warm or cool your video or photo looks. You can choose from 5 different white balance ranges, and on this photo you can see how different feeling of the image you get when you switch to different white balance. Auto exposure bias determines the amount of light that can go through your camera sensor. Basically, white balance determines the warmth, where exposure sets brightness of your outputs. There are quite a lot of intervals which you can choose, and on this image you can see how different intervals influence brightness of the image. So those were just a few setups that I mentioned that I used and liked, and if you again want to see more about them, just go to my article. Now, 100 mAh Li-ion replaceable battery powers this little camera. On this table now you can see approximate battery life that I managed to get in my tests. Dazzne P3 has a built-in Wi-Fi which enables us to remotely control it, shoot videos, take photos, download media, all from our mobile device or tablet. There are both Android and iTunes versions. App interface is quite good looking and easy to use. I must admit that sometimes I had issues connecting to it. On some instances it worked like a breeze, and sometimes I had to turn off the camera and try to connect again. So it is a bit buggy, but I expect this will be fixed in some updates very soon. Even though most of the options inside the app are the same as in the camera, there are a few that are differently named. For instance, ProTune is called Quality inside the app, and there is no 720p 120 frames per second inside the app option. One additional feature is called Photo Quality, which allows you to choose quality of your photos between best, better and general. Overall, app is quite easy to use and navigate. What annoyed me was that each time I exited the menu, camera needed 2-3 seconds to reconnect again. A live preview on the other hand is quite good, and there was not much lag, even less when the camera started the recording. I also had an encounter with Dazzne customer support, and they were quite responsive and got my question answered within 24 hours. Quite good, even though their English was not perfect, but neither is mine, so I guess I cannot complain much about it. For product support, you just go to their contact page on their website, and one thing to complain about it is the website speed, which in some cases takes 5, 6 or even 10 minutes to load. I assume this is because of slow servers in China. Okay, let's summarize everything. Upon my few weeks of using Dazzne P3 on regular basis, both indoors, outdoors, day and low light situations, I can say that this is pretty decent camera for its price. I really like the image quality, which is probably the biggest advantage of this little cam. I enjoy having 2 batteries and the dual charger that came in box, which were precious time saver, especially when I was hiking. Speaking of gear, rotatable mounts were also a fantastic addition, whereas I was really frustrated with no tripod bracket or wall charger adapter being included in the box. Video quality is very good, though when faced with a bright backlight, camera can struggle to get proper exposure. Build quality is also a huge advantage of the Dazzne P3, and this action cam certainly looks like a well-crafted recording device. The materials used add a bit of more of weight, and the camera weighs around 95 grams, which is a bit heavy for an action camera. I found USB port quite handy, though it was made out of thin plastic and ruined overall impression of toughness of this action camera. Even though I have not tested camera underwater, it allows up to 20 meters of use underwater. The clip on the top of the housing was flimsy and it was easy to pull it out, which was quite annoying. There are many settings and overall user navigation and experience is quite smooth. I do not like the fact that the settings are not organized, and one more thing is that the camera cannot record while being charged at the same time, so you cannot attach a power bank to it and record for a longer period like you could do with Xiaomi Yi, for instance. That was it, guys. If you have any questions about this camera, feel free to leave a comment below. For more information, please visit the article I wrote about this camera. I really invested a lot of efforts to present each and every feature there. So that was it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, see you in the next video. Happy recording.